This is Gene DeLisio with a featured sports interview from WDLB and WOSQ. Jamie Martin excelled in both tennis and softball for the Marshfield Tigers in the mid-1990s, graduating in 1997. Jamie played on Marshfield's 1997 state championship softball team and also played on Tiger girls tennis teams that finished second at the state team tournament in 1994 and 1995. For her efforts, Jamie was inducted into the Marshfield Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame in the fall of 2017.
Well, it's a great honor, of course. It's also fun to reflect back on all the great experiences I've had playing as the Marshfield Tiger, and a lot of joy that it's brought me. And just being able to reflect on that is really fun, and it's special to see Coach Keller here tonight to honor me, and much of my family is also here, and they've all been a great part of my career as a Tiger as well. So.
I want to talk about your career at Marshfield High School, but let's start before that and some of the early memories you have of sports in Marshfield, especially getting started in the game of tennis.
Sure. I really have my dad to thank for that. He introduced the game of tennis to us when I was in 6th grade, and it quickly became a family affair. So he was a high school player and loved the game of tennis, and it was something that he introduced, and we all loved it. So all three, my sisters and I, spent many years playing on the court, and really had that to my dad to thank. And tennis or softball, I started. Oh, that was probably a little bit younger. We played in the ponytail leagues that the Parks and Rec put on. So again, that started also with my family throwing the ball out in the backyard, playing catch.
You know, in recent years, I've had the chance to talk with a couple of other people who made the Hall of Fame partially on their tennis abilities, Jeff Hardiker being one, and then Susie Bladel being another. And they both talk about kind of this subcult of tennis kids hanging around Marshfield, going down to Oak Avenue and playing tennis every day. And you don't think of that too much. You think about kids playing baseball all day in the summer, things like that, or maybe pick up basketball, but not tennis. Did you find that as a youth growing up, that there was this large group of kids who played tennis every day?
We did. So, I played a lot with my family. And again, I started a little bit later, and we didn't live right in the city. So I do remember biking into town and going to Coach Keller and Coach Swenson's tennis camps in the summertime. And then we also did spend time with other classmates, getting tennis lessons over in Stevens Point as well, which made it nice to have. It shared the wealth of traveling and time for our parents on the road, and it just made it fun. So I think just in general, there's also been a lot of athletes who are tennis and softball players. So whether it be Tammy Myers, Trisha Gust, Lee wasn't in softball, but there's a lot of crossing over of the two sports.
You began your tennis career at Marshfield High School rather early. Tell us about some of the early memories you have of going to the Tiger varsity.
So going to Tiger varsity was a big deal. I was a sophomore at the time, and I had the honor of playing with Trisha Gust, and so she was someone that I grew up watching and was a phenomenal athlete, and I think is also in the Hall of Fame as well. So I was a shy young girl, excited to be on varsity, and extremely somewhat intimidated and honored and humbled to be able to be her tennis partner. And at that time, she was a senior and I was a sophomore. So that was a really big deal to play doubles with her in my heart, and really enjoyed that moment. From there, I played with Nikki Bladel, and then I was also really lucky to play with my sister my senior year.
Before you got to Marshfield High School, you probably would have played junior high tennis, and we do want to talk about that experience because you played for Ken Swenson probably, and that had to be a wonderful experience because he was so integral in the success of the program. Tell us about playing for Ken Swenson down at the junior high.
Yeah, Ken was great. Coach Swenson, he just had a great way of allowing us all to have fun together, and I think that's what makes the whole program really special, is that we spent, like you said, a lot of hours on the court together, and tennis being an individual sport and a team sport, having that time together and him being around and having the commitment that he's given to the game, being a coach, but also the summer camps that they provided for all of us girls is extremely helpful in building the program, and definitely gave me the opportunity to hit more balls. And at the end of the day, that really helps one's game of just having court time.
So you go to the Tiger varsity, and there's Gary Kaler, legendary coach. Tell us about playing for Coach Kaler.
Coach Kaler, he's great. He has the ability to bring out the best, I think, in every single player. So we all had very different games, but he definitely coached a relentless team and made us realize he always told us to get the ball back in the play. And we had many teammates that I had that did a very, very good job at that. And so what I love about him is he also he taught me to keep the ball back in play, which maybe I didn't have the patience to do that early on in my game. But then he also gave me the strength to also to have the opportunities to put the ball away when the opportunity arrived. So I'm thankful for what he's given me of teaching me to keep the ball in play and have patience with my game. And that ultimately gave me a better mental game also.
Even as a young lady, a sophomore, even as a freshman probably before that, you had to have some understanding of the significance of the tennis program at Marshfield High School, how successful it was, state appearances, a lot of conference championships, usually a premier team. What was it like for a young girl, freshman, sophomore, to walk into that type of atmosphere?
I think that's actually I feel like I remember the athletes before me more than I do necessarily the record before me. And I owe that to Coach Swenson and Coach Kaler because they didn't put that pressure on you. It wasn't about maintaining the record, and the legacy that Coach Kaler has of the consecutive conference wins is phenomenal. He's also a Hall of Famer, and I think that's what makes it so special is that wasn't what we were playing for, the record. We were playing to be good athletes and have fun while doing it. And the record came along with that, and that's the beauty, I think, of their coaching style. It wasn't about win, really bringing the best out of you, and we happened to be winning a lot of matches. So.
You also played in an era that was a bit different from today, in which you played both singles and doubles, I believe. You played a singles match, and then a team with somebody else played a doubles match, and today it's you play either one or the other. What was that like, having to play both sides back in that era?
I actually started... when I started my sophomore year was actually when the game switched, when you played one or the other. So I played doubles starting my sophomore year throughout my high school career. So as I went on to play in college, that was actually a shift for me. I love the game of doubles. Well, first of all, you run a little bit less, but I like the quickness of the game and the pace of the game. I also am just more precise, I think, hitting with doubles because I have two players and I can see the lines a little bit easier of where I'm aiming for. So it was a little bit more of a transition going into college because you played both in college. You had less girls on the team. Fortunately, during my summer playing in USTA programs, I always did still play singles and doubles, so that did still keep my singles game sharp, or at least sharp enough to continue playing.
Tell us about some of the other girls you played with, especially some of your doubles partners here at Marshfield.
So the entire team, from junior high on up, whether on JV and even the girls, we had just a really fun team. I felt like I've made a lot of friendships through tennis and softball. My tennis players, my sophomore year, I played doubles with Trisha Gust, and she was a senior at the time, so that was a big deal for me. I was really excited to make the varsity team. And then to have the honor to play with the Trisha Gust was a big deal at that time in my life. And she brought me along and encouraged me through that entire journey, and I grew a lot, I think, being able to play with her. My junior year, I played with Nikki Bladel, which was a lot of fun as well, and we also made it to the state tournament together. and she's a phenomenal athlete. She also played softball and tennis. And then my senior year, I was able to play with my sister, which was a really special moment. I think there's not a lot of people that get that opportunity, and we also had great success. And it was just a special time to be able to do that, and also make it to the state tournament too.
Let's talk about the state tournament experiences you had and what that was like for you.
It was amazing. So, I mean, at that time, I played a little bit indoors in Stevens Point, but to be at the Nielsen Stadium and have that, the amount of people watching you and cheering for you, it was a lot of fun. Our team, every year that we made it, we were fired up and we were ready to just do the best that we could. We had experience going to the south part of the state to play some of those more the tougher teams. So Brookfield Central was always a tough team for us, and then Nicolay was always very challenging too, and they always made it to the state tournament as well. So they continued to be really good opponents, and we all just loved that time. I mean, it's been 20 years, which is hard to believe, but I remember those moments so vividly that I even remember going out to eat at an Olive Garden together. So something so simple, but it was just a great time.
Now you went on to UW-Milwaukee, played some Division I tennis, and people don't think too much about Division I tennis, but certainly a very fine program, and you had good success down there. Tell us about that experience.
Playing Milwaukee was wonderful. It was a Division I school. It wasn't probably to the strength of a UW-Madison Division I school tennis program, but it was definitely a higher level of tennis to be able to play, and really pleased to see how my game grew during that time frame as well. Yeah, great memories. Again, great athletes that I was able to play and friendships built during those times.
What was the transition like going from Marshfield High School to Division I tennis?
So we came from, in high school, again, we were all very, very good players, and came from a period of always having successful seasons, and a lot of wins. And so for me going to college, those first years, it wasn't always that way. So I think some of the foundational things that I learned in tennis about just having a really good mental game and doing the best you can do, playing the best you can play and being proud of that and learning from it was really important. And being proud of how you play is what's important. So even when you're losing, that's not what you dwell on, and that allowed me to continue to improve and not necessarily get down on myself, because it definitely was a higher level of competition that we were playing with. Especially as we went and played outside of our conference at tournaments at like Ball State, for example. They always put on a phenomenal tournament with really challenging opponents.
You should talk about your softball career at Marshfield. Also, give us any memories you might have of playing softball for the Tigers.
Yeah, softball was really fun, and I think just the combination of tennis and softball is great because you have a very, very independent sport in tennis, where it's you on the court, and softball, it's a team sport, very much fully, but yet it's depending on all of your teammates and them also depending on you. So it's teaching you, I think, how to have trust. And nothing but great memories there. Again, I can remember the smell of the ball field at certain games, and like Coach Kaller or Coach Kapleen has an amazing legacy of softball. I feel like I'm just really fortunate to be born when I was to be able to play underneath both of those coaches.
What was P. Kapleen like as a coach for you?
Coach Kapleen was wonderful. One thing that I really remember is I started out really wanting to be a pitcher, and that's really where I focused my first 3 years in softball on, was pitching, and soon to come there are 3 girls that came along that so Amy Vanderwist, Ashley Jordarski, and Amy Tauschek. And my senior year I realized if I was going to be on that field, it wasn't going to be pitching. So they both were great pitchers and led us on to many successes. So I really am grateful that he encouraged me and gave me the chance of playing in other positions so that I could get some play time. So I wasn't the home run hitter, but I could make contact, and I did pretty well. But being able to give me the extra teaching of being a successful outfielder, and I was able to even work a little bit with Gary Varcho to help me make sure I kept my arm strong and in good condition, and then some shortstop time. So just having the trust and the faith that I could do something other than pitching, and not like giving up on me when I needed to make that switch.
How about the state tournament experience with Marshfield?
The state tournament was amazing. The first year we went and we lost rather early in the first round, but in '97, going out in our senior year and winning the state championship, the hum of that team was amazing. Of how there was something special going there at the end of the year, where from the start of when we warmed up during a game and we felt it, you could just feel it. I can't even describe how good all the athletes were and how we played together and in sync. With that all being said, we never thought we didn't go in there with an ego thinking we were coming out winning. We believed that we could win that state championship game. So it was just a surreal moment, and really fun to be able to celebrate and going out in the senior year with a state championship game.
How about some of your teammates on that softball team?
Yeah, the teammates, I still keep in touch with many of them. Ann Pernsteiner, Amy Vanderwist, Katie Harkins, Cindy Meckler. We had just a great group of seniors that last year. And again, it was just a team that never, that just had complete trust in everything. Every person had a role in that team and inspired each other to always do better. And if someone was down, they would pick you back up. And it was just a really great team environment and very special.
Jamie, overall, what do you think athletics and the academic experience at Marshfield High School has meant to you?
It means so much. Being able to reflect back on it makes me realize how much it has really laid a foundation of who I am today. So, I think it's taught me a lot of lessons in life that I carry out every day in my work life. And so just trusting on others, knowing what it feels like to be on a team and what they expect of you, and what you also trust that they can accomplish and achieve. It's taught me to do the best that I can do, enjoy what I'm doing, and there's a couple things that so Coach Kaplan would always say, go down swinging. So, always be trying. So go after it. Don't stand and watch it go by you. I think that's a good thing to carry on. And my dad would always say, let your racket do the talking. So I think that's just a really good life lesson too, of just, again, having good integrity in whatever you do, and it's not necessarily about talking about it, but being the example of what you're trying to achieve.
Marshfield's Jamie Martin inducted into the Marshfield Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame in the fall of 2017. After graduation, Jamie played 4 years of Division I college tennis at UW-Milwaukee. This is Gene DeLisio reporting.